Chris, we have all of our board members here and our legal staff, so we're ready to start at your pleasure.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'll go ahead and call this October meeting of the Retirement and Pension Board to order. I will begin by reading the determination of electronic meetings, hopefully reading the right one this time. A determination is needed by the board regarding electronic meetings pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order number 16, executed on March the 20th of 2020, extended by the Governor's Executive Order number 34, and effective through 11:59 p.m. Central Daylight Time on June the 30th of 2020, further extended on June the 29th, 2020 by the Governor's Executive Order number 51 and effective through 11:59 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and on August the 29th, 2020, further extended on August 28th, 2020 by the Governor's Executive Order number 60 and effective through 11:59 p.m. Central Daylight Time on October 28th, 2020, and pursuant to recommendations from the Tennessee Comptroller of the Treasury issued on March the 20th of 2020 and other applicable laws in effect. The governor's orders allow government agencies to amend or rescind portions of the Tennessee Open Meetings Act regarding electronic meetings in lieu of in-person attendance and participation. The Comptroller's office recommends that boards make a determination regarding the necessity of electronic meetings for continued function of government agencies and to protect public health, safety, and welfare during the outbreak of COVID-19. Such determination is to be placed on the record in the board's minutes. May I have a motion for this determination and to record this determination in the board's minutes?
So moved, Commissioner Smith.
Second, Commissioner Jay.
There's a first and second. Jennifer, will you call the roll, please?
Chris Caldwell,
Aye.
Commissioner Bustler,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Here.
Ms. Himmelgarn,
Aye.
Mr. Mullinex,
Aye.
Ms. Samar.
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote and the motion carries.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Moving on to item number 3, amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments?
I have no amendments for the agenda.
Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4, approval of the minutes of the September 28th, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
This is Gabe, second.
There's a motion made and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Jennifer, call the roll.
Mr. Caldwell.
Aye.
Commissioner Bustler,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Ms. Himmelgarn,
Aye.
Mr. Mullinex,
Aye.
Ms. Samar.
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote. That motion carries.
Thank you so much. Item number 5, applications for retirement defined contribution plan. Is there a motion?
Move to approve. Jennifer Himmelgarn.
Second.
And it was the second. Any discussion? Jennifer, call the roll.
Mr. Caldwell,
Aye.
Commissioner Bustler,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Ms. Himmelgarn,
Aye.
Mr. Mullinex,
Aye.
Ms. Samar.
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote. That motion carries.
Moving on to item number 6, applications for retirement uniformed officers pension plan. Is there a motion?
Gabe Mullinax, I'll make the motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jennifer, call the roll.
Mr. Caldwell.
Aye.
Commissioner Bustler,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Ms. Himmelgarn,
Aye.
Mr. Mullinex,
Aye.
Ms. Samar,
Aye.
and that's a unanimous vote and that motion carries.
Moving on to item number 7, report of Executive Director. Jennifer.
So I have shared on the screen our COVID distributions for October. We had 64 distributions. September, we had 96. We had a little bit less this month. And our year-to-date total on the second page here is 420 total COVID distributions year-to-date. The next thing in my report is our plan summaries. I've provided that in your packets, and it will give the summaries for each of our plans that we have. I wanted to talk briefly about our election. I'm working with our legal team to formalize our election procedures and maybe do some updates. And just wanted to let you know that we will have that for approval in the November meeting. And the last thing that I needed to have some discussion on is our next board meetings. Our next investment committee meeting is scheduled for November 10th. And right now, the executive order for that the governor has released is through October 28th. We are thinking that there might be an extension through the end of the year, but I wanted to see what our options were. We can have that in the commission conference room in person, but didn't know if that room would be big enough and everybody comfortable enough to spread and social distance, or if we wanted to have that meeting in the main assembly room. And
I
we
think you
also,
can- the governor's office has said that he was going to extend it through the end of the year. They already put out a statement. He hasn't done it yet, but that was the statement. So I'm not sure why we couldn't just keep it on Zoom, given that, and if for some reason that changed, revert back to something else.
and so we have the investment committee meeting, the November board meeting, and the December board meeting. So do you want to keep those through Zoom as well, those two meetings? Does anybody have an objection to that?
No, Jennifer, I think, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
I think Commissioner Jay is correct. I think the governor has shown intentions to extend to the end of the year. I think we can write up our notices to state that we will do them by Zoom, and if not available, that we will hold them in person. And if we have to hold them in person, the small assembly room would also work for either of these meetings, I believe, if it's available. I know it's after the election, so it should be available by then.
So I'm okay with that. Is there any more discussion on that? So I will get with legal, make sure that order is signed by the governor and update our electronic meeting notice. And I will schedule then, if that's the case, our November investment committee meeting, our November board meeting, and December morning board meeting by Zoom. And that's the end of my report. Does anybody have any questions for me?
My only recommendation is with the extension of the electronic meeting declaration that Mr. Owens works to make it shorter, not longer, because I'm tired of reading it, but that's the only thing that I have. Kidding. Item number 8, report of investment committee. I believe that is Mr. Randy Smith.
Thank you, Chris. As Jennifer said, we will be having a meeting in November. Until then, all I've basically done is looked at our packet that we have before us, and looking at the defined contribution plans. It appears to me that the period from August 31st to September 30th was not a great time in the market. Moving on to our defined benefit plans, it also appears that that was not a great time in the market, but I do have a question for Mr. Cross. It seems that the biggest margin of decline was in the American short-term bonds, and I was wondering why that would be so.
There was a rise in interest rates, and that precipitated that drop. Also, other uncertainties that exist in a marketplace, whether there's going to be another round of stimulus, election jitters, various things, but the bump in interest rates was a factor. Just a little bit of good news, if I may. We do have a couple of other charts. So far, I know we've had a rough day today, but if we look at the rate of return since, thank you, Jennifer, by the way, we can see that for the last few days through 10/31, all of the plans have made a remarkable recovery. So we've had anywhere from 2.3 on the DB plan up to 3, and that's reflective, as you know, the relatively conservative nature of the closed defined benefit plans. So these are tracking just as we hoped that they would. And then we wanted to share one other chart. So again, on a comparative basis, this shows the rates return on a 1-month basis. And again, this would be as of the last month. Even though we had a decline, it was less than that of other managers and less than that of the index, quite a bit less. For the quarter, outstanding, year-to-date, positive versus a negative for other managers, and the index. And you see those trends all the way down the line for the defined benefit plan. So far, so good. I think the changes that we made have given us good downside protection and have also yielded great numbers on the upside as well. So hopefully we hold up here through the rest of the year. So we wanted to share that with the board. So,
Bob, on the Transamerica short-term bonds, you say it's an interest rate sensitive instrument with a bump in interest rates during that time period. Is it equally as sensitive to drops in the interest rate? Because I would assume that rates, if they bumped up in September, should be coming back down. And we have, I believe, a fairly heavy allocation of over 17% in this bond.
Randy, we did reduce that exposure to some degree. We had the same concern, and yes, in theory, but they do manage to interest rate sensitivities quite well. They've done really a good job in that regard. So I think they'll manage through it.
I know we had talked about in our retreat and shortly after moving our portfolio in a way that interest rate sensitivity would be less profound. How far are we along in that move?
We are at least 90% there. We did make some recommendations on some other types of investments that we think give us a better downside protection and also yield anywhere from 2 to 3%. I think the key on the fixed income side is really diversification across a variety of asset categories in that space, international, also managing the degree of risk, maturity, and then also looking at alternative type investments that really are clones of fixed income instruments. But again, without we believe, and we do believe, without the downside risk. So we're looking if we can get from all of those categories on the fixed income space 2 to 3.5% over the next 3 to 5 years, and we'll be thrilled. I know the Feds have said they want to hold rates low for the next 4 years or so. I think that to some degree depends on, who knows, will depend a little bit on who gets elected. If it's President Trump, they're very, very growth focused. barring some unforeseen set of circumstances, that probably will hold true. On the other hand, I think if Mr. Biden is elected, we might see a little bit of a change in the direction of the economy. I'm not saying plus or minus. I just think it'll be a different approach. So, but I do think, Randy, we're very, very well positioned on the fixed income side.
Okay, thank you, sir. Chris, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions for Randy? Seeing none, we'll go to item number 9, report of legal counsel. And I will first go to Mr. Owings. And I had spoken to John earlier today and asked him to touch on a topic, and he will do so. And then we'll go from there. Go right ahead, John.
All right, did everybody hear me okay? Can you hear me, Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I've got a different laptop, so I wanted to make sure. Let me kind of give you a little bit of a timeline. Officer Kidd, he submitted his retirement papers, some of which were unsigned, on September 23. The pension office, retirement pension office, sent that back to him for his signature. He then resubmitted a signed application and paperwork requesting retirement, and he did that on September 29. That was to be effective November 1. And so it would have been on this month's agenda for consideration. However, in the meantime, we certainly knew that there were several Knoxville News Sentinel articles written about Officer Kidd and what was going on with he and his office. And so in due course, what we always do is we write the law director a letter which asks if there is any reason that Knox County would have to either withhold or to suspend the consideration of the retirement application of that employee. And I wrote that letter on October the 6th. It was an email I sent to David Book on October the 6th. I did not get a response to that email. However, on October the 13th, as most of you know, there was another news story related to Officer Kidd. And on that date, Officer Kidd pled guilty to official misconduct. By pleading guilty to official misconduct, and his sentencing is going to be held sometime in December. By pleading guilty to official misconduct, we consider that as a conviction. And by being convicted of official misconduct, it is a felony. It's a Class E felony as an employee of Knox County, and it was related to his work. By being related to his work, there is a charter provision which applies. So not only is this provision within the Knox County Charter, it is also within our plan document. And the provision that applies to this situation is found, I'm going to cite you the charter provision. It's found in 7.04I of the Knox County Charter. And it says this: any county elected official or employee who is convicted of a felony in the discharge of county governmental duties shall forfeit any benefits under the provisions of the system. This paragraph shall not apply to participant contribution accounts, which shall be non-forfeitable. So it's a pretty easy call, actually, in this situation, since he has pled guilty to official misconduct. And I have confirmed that with his lawyer, Mr. Tommy Heineman, that he did plead guilty to official misconduct in the performance of his duties for Knox County. That being the case, our charter is clear and our plan documents are clear that so long as that he has been convicted of that offense, that he is not entitled to the county portion of his retirement. He is not qualified to retire from Knox County. He is entitled to his contributions, and the charter makes that clear as well. So Jennifer has sent him a letter, and the letter told him that he wasn't qualified to retire, and sent him the distribution paperwork to be filled out and to receive the distribution of his participation amounts that are in the system. I don't guess we've gotten that paperwork back, Jennifer, correct?
No, we have not gotten that paperwork back.
Yeah, and so bottom line for us is that it is an act of dishonesty. It is the conviction of a crime that involves his official duties. He's pled guilty to it, and he is not entitled to the county's portion, the county's contributions to his retirement. So he can request a distribution at any time and receive the monies that he has himself paid into the system. So that's where we are related to Officer Kidd. Anybody have any questions? I'll be
I have
glad.
a question. So we do not need to take any particular action as a board, or do we?
That's right. The action actually is taken by the administrative office. And so Jennifer has sent Officer Kidd a letter, and that letter has laid out, one, he's not qualified. Two, he has appeal rights from that decision. So this board might be receiving an appeal from Officer Kidd at some point. He has 60 days in which to make that request. But no action needs to be taken by the board related to his request. That action, it's purely an administrative look, and the administrator has done that, and he has the opportunity to appeal to the board.
John, I had a question or two.
Yes.
You say these are provision charters?
Yes.
So that's how we are defining what his contributions.
Yes.
But are there state statute, federal laws when it comes to pensions that might supersede something within our charter?
I'm not aware of any that would supersede this provision that is within our charter, and we have utilized this on numerous occasions. I've not been made aware of any, and I'm not aware of any. So as far as I'm concerned, this provision it would certainly meet constitutional muster, and it is viable.
Okay, is this something that we have equally used across all of our plans with all previous former officials and employees who have either pled or been found guilty of a felony?
For those that I've been involved with, I can say yes. The ones that I'm aware of that meet this, the language contained within the Knox County Charter and our plan provision, there's always a nuance, right? In this case, it's pretty straightforward what he's pled guilty to, and like I say, I've confirmed that with his attorney. And by pleading guilty to a charge of official misconduct while he's been an employee of Knox County, that's an easy call. And so, yes, we always try to honor these provisions and what we always do as well is, we always try to, is one, we want information from Knox County. If there is an employee who has filed an application and we have been made aware, the board, the administrative office has been made aware that there may be issues with this person's employment, we want a little bit more information regarding that so that Knox County has the opportunity to utilize the provisions of this plan and the charter. Here it was pretty straightforward. We knew that there were issues. We didn't know if they were going to lead to official misconduct. And so Mr. Kidd made that easy for us.
What was that action that led to the charge of official misconduct that he pled guilty to?
From what I have read, he participated in working with an inmate that was working at the what is that called? What is his center called? The
Fleet Services.
Fleet Service Center. That's right. So there was an inmate who'd worked at the Fleet Service Center, and from what I understand, he worked with that inmate, facilitated his ability as well as his release, his ability to be released and his release. And in order for that inmate, and participated in that crime with that inmate to basically commit insurance fraud is what it sounds like to me. From what I've read, the keys were left in an automobile. The inmate was supposed to be released from jail and go and take the automobile and make it disappear. And the inmate didn't make the automobile disappear. It sounds like he got cold feet and then basically talked to the authorities and told them what the plan was.
So it was basically arranging for and helping him make bond.
Well, and facilitating a criminal act. And he was involved in the planning of the criminal act. And the board may, you may hear from Mr. Kidd again. I don't know if you will or not, but he may appeal the administrative office's decision. That'll be up to him, and then we'll hear more about this.
John, you have anything else?
That's all I have.
Thanks, John. Moving on to Mr. Mason. Bill?
I don't have anything to report today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
So much. We'll move on to item number 10, report of Actuary Bob Cross. Bob?
Yes, sir. So we have a couple of exhibits I think Jennifer is going to bring up. So Brenda, do you want to go through that chart?
Sure. You may or may not recall that about a month or so ago, we had shared with you a feature or a tool that is going to be available to your active participants online. It is the new retirement estimator and modeling tool that they'll be able to use if they would like to take a distribution from their defined contribution plan. In allowing this to be set up, it will be effective next Monday. There'll be a communication going out to the active participants, and it will go live online at that time. This also helps the team in order to reduce the amount of paper that we tend to send back and forth from the service center to the Knox County office. So we're real excited about this new feature and wanted just to show you this communication that is going to go out to them next week. Did you have any questions or?
So I just want to make a few comments. You know, my team has looked at this portal. We have tested this portal, and I'm very proud of what's going to be offered to the employees. The biggest asset of this portal is that somebody can go out there and run an estimate of their retirement benefits. So me as a participant in the plan, I can look at today and run an estimate to see where I'm at retirement. And this will save my staff also a lot of, we run estimates, we send them out weekly, daily of people that request them. And now they will have the capability to go online and utilize and run their own estimate with just a few mouse clicks. So I'm really impressed with that. Also, the big second thing is for people that are terminated employees that have left for other jobs or so forth, that they can take their distribution of their funds and fill out a form online. And we have DocuSign that will allow them to submit their application. And that's going to alleviate a lot of paperwork flow that comes from my office to USI. It's going to be all done electronically. The electronic distribution form will be sent in, it'll be approved by our office, and then USI will look at it, approve it, and process, and then send out their distribution. It's going to be a lot cleaner. So I'm really looking forward for the employees and the participants to utilize this option.
Well, great. Thank you for that. Chris, we had a couple of other items, I guess, to go through. If everyone's, and Jennifer, I really appreciate those kind comments. Thank you. I might add that this was completely customized for Knox County. They have a very complicated retirement system. Again, this is all completely customized and specific to the Knox County retirement system. A couple of announcements would like to make with regard to USI Consulting Group. First, last week we completed the acquisition of a company called Finley. Finley is one of the largest actuarial consulting firms in the United States. With that acquisition, the consulting group will double in size, both in terms of number of employees and revenues. They of interest probably to the board, they are currently the actuary for the city of Knoxville and for the state retirement system. The new COO, she was the former CEO of Finley, will be located in Nashville. So I think, significant impact across the state for the consulting group and contiguous states. They have other offices in Cleveland, primarily in the Midwest central part of the United States, within the central region of the United States, which is our region headquartered here in Knoxville. They have over 80 actuaries and, again, clients throughout the country. So we're very, very excited that they have become part of Consulting Group. And I think it will add significantly to the resources we have available for our clients. I might add they do not provide investment advisory services. So we're looking forward to working with them and their client base in that regard, and actually several others. So that's one announcement. The second, the consulting group, as a result of some internal consolidation of administrative systems, is moving to the Schwab administrative platform. We have an office in Seattle that currently uses internally, it's all an internal platform, uses Schwab. We have a group in Long Island that uses Schwab, and Finley, and this acquisition has been in the works for well over 6 months, also uses Schwab. So it made sense from a practical matter. And given unfortunate publicity for Wells Fargo, we were not particularly enamored of working with them. So everything came together. And so as a result of that, we are moving the administrative component of the service we provide to Schwab. In terms of the impact on the Knox County retirement system, this will literally take place over a weekend. So as of and we've announced this, as of a Friday, the system will close. And then on Monday, it will be back fully operational. So it's really just an internal conversion into a uniform system. Schwab will be the trustee going forward. And of course, they will be a custodian. But in terms of the people doing all the processing, all the other work that's done will continue to be completed by USI Consulting Group. So really the only difference will be that Schwab will be issuing the checks as opposed to physically issuing the checks as opposed to Wells Fargo. I might add that USI Consulting Group absorbs all of the fees for check writing and for 1099s. So there's not any issue or item with respect to cost. Be glad to answer any questions with respect to either one of those particular topics.
Questions for Bob?
So Bob, as the trustee and the custodian, then I think it would be in order for the board to consider this change to Charles Schwab. And so Chris, I know it's Bob's recommendation that that occur. And so it would seem to me to be appropriate then for the board to consider it, to vote on it, so that it will be in the minutes.
Yeah, just to make sure, and I want to make sure, one item I did not mention, and John, we always defer to your advice, of course. First Tennessee is currently the trustee of the plans. That's not going to change. The board and the retirement office will not need to sign any new paperwork. All the paperwork that is in place at the current time will continue in place. So again, this is a change in operational custodial component of the system. So just want to make sure on that, John.
Okay.
Is there a motion to accept Bob's recommendation?
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation. Commissioner Jay.
And I'll second it. Gabe Mullinax.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Jennifer, call the roll.
Mr. Codwell,
Aye.
Commissioner Bustler,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Ms. Hemmelgarn,
Aye.
Mr. Mullinax,
Aye.
Ms. Samar.
Aye.
And that's a unanimous vote and that motion carries.
Moving on to
Thank
item
you.
number 11, approval for payment. Is there a motion?
Move to approve. Jennifer Hemmelgarn.
Janet Seymour, second.
The motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Jennifer, call the roll.
Mr. Codwell,
Aye.
Commissioner Bustler,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Ms. Hemmelgarn,
Aye.
Mr. Mullinax,
Aye.
Ms. Samar,
Aye.
and that's a unanimous vote and that motion carries.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Commissioner Jay.
You're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.